Hello, I'm Pamela Spence, medical herbalist. Since we've been in lockdown, I've started to get into the way of doing a little snippet of clinic notes at the end of my clinics every week. And I've had lots of lovely feedback from people on that. Thank you for your messages. And so I think this is something I'm going to try to continue for a little while. One of the things that I've noticed in clinic this week is that people's moods are dipping quite a lot, and I just wanted to touch on that. So when we first went into lockdown, so this now is the 7th of May. So as we went into lockdown in the UK, I know not everyone who watches is from the UK, we had this kind of grief response that I was talking about. So we had a lot of anxiety, lots of high anxiety in the week before. We were all, myself included, in that fight, flight or freeze kind of space while we tried to take on board all of the changes that were happening extremely rapidly. Some of us feeling in denial that this could possibly be going on. How could we shut our businesses? What do you mean we can't go to work? Why are the kids not going to school? This can't be real kind of feelings. When lockdown happened, a lot of my patients started to talk about the fact that extreme anxiety kind of went away because you were kind of in this slightly surreal, it's almost like a holiday, but it's not a holiday, but it's certainly in some ways, a rest. And even if you were trying to work at home with children, which, I'm doing, and that is stressful and busy, sometimes there is that sense of not having your daily commute or not having to rush the kids to school and back again or whatever. So there was a sense of kind of, it was calmer. And then we got this kind of, like, we can do this and we've got so many weeks, and people were talking about how they were going to get through it and out the other side. And yes, we need to just plug in and get on with it. And what's happened in the last week or so is that really what we're coming to realise is that there's no easy way out of this. And we're coming to see that there is no end date. There's no definite end date. We don't know when restrictions will be lifted. Some will be lifted a bit at a time, but if numbers start to go up, we'll be back in the same position. And that's quite difficult, because what that's done is it's taken away that end date, that goal. And we talk a lot in practice. So as a medical herbalist, I work with kind of life coaching skills, as well as nutritional skills, as well as talking about supplements, as well as a lot of the time is spent helping people manage their responses to things. We spend lots of time doing that. It's not just about the herbs, although of course the herbs are the absolute linchpin in it all. So when you take a goal away, when someone's in a difficult, and you say, keep going because at this point this will change and get better. When you take that goal away, that's very difficult. And what I've noticed is that people's moods are starting to slip a little bit. Do I have an easy answer for that? Of course not. But I think it's really important that during this time when we're all experiencing these things, that we talk about it, that we bring it up, that we discuss it, that we have a self-awareness of it. And again, it comes back to what's that doing to our bodies. So we've talked before about the fact that stress negatively impacts your immunity. We know that it interferes with the chemical cascades, that the immune system is very much a chemically mediated system, as opposed to a very structurally based system. Like, the cardiovascular is structural, it's heart and microcirculation, veins and arteries. And yes, there are components of the immune system that are physical, but there's a lot of it that's biochemical. And we know that stress interferes. And low mood is stress. Low mood also interferes. So people who are depressed, I'm not saying the country's depressed, but people who are depressed will tend to have lower immunity. And there's a whole branch of medicine devoted to this called psychoneuroimmunology, if anyone's interested, go and read about it, where they study the effect of mood, of psychoneuro, the psychology of the brain, the effect of those moods physically on your immune system. So we all need strong immune systems at the moment. We know that. We know that we need strong immune systems anyway, but it's particularly important just now because we know that the best outcomes we can have when we are coming in contact with this virus would be to have strong immunity, because there aren't drugs that can stop us getting it, but our immune system can protect us from that. So what I would say is it's important to do anything you can do to keep your spirits up, while at the same time recognising and acknowledging the difficulties that we're all facing just now. There's no point in pretending it's not happening. If you're having a day where you're feeling down, there's no point in pretending. Acknowledge it is what I always say, and acknowledge it, allow it to be. Sometimes you need to sit with your feelings, but try not to dwell in them if you are able not to. Some people will not be able to do that, and there's no judgment there. But if you can, do something to move yourself. So physically moving is helpful. It gets endorphins flowing. So get out there for your walk or your cycle or whatever you can, if you're able to do that. Go and do something that brings you some pleasure. Go and get some vitamin D about you. Get out in the sunshine. It's not so sunny today here. It's quite cloudy, but still the temperatures are up. So getting outside, changing what you're looking at, from the four walls, making sure you are taking that daily exercise, because when the mood drops, it's quite tempting to just stay inside, and actually it's really important to move. Get those endorphins going, those feel-good brain chemicals flowing, and try to keep your immunity up. It is really important at this point we still remember to eat really well. There's lots and lots of research on how the rainbow diet, for example, so that's eating something of every colour in the rainbow, and you can look that up on the internet. There's plenty of resources on the rainbow diet, how those colours are brought by chemicals that are supporting your body's strengths. Eating a rainbow diet, there's loads of information around mushrooms and how good the beta-glucans in mushrooms are. They're a type of polysaccharide that support your immunity. So eating mushrooms regularly at this point is really good for you. Getting your exercise and giving your body what it needs, making sure that you are sleeping regular times. We talked last week about how sleep was being disturbed, so trying to have a good sleep hygiene. A lot of this is down to basics, because a lot of this is about giving our bodies what we need. We talked about reducing stress levels by cutting out the caffeine where you can, and using herbs, drinking herbs as your hot beverage that are going to support you. There's lots of reports coming out now around vitamin D levels being important and vitamin C levels being important as well. And this is information we've always known. They support immunity. And so what we can do for now is give our bodies what they need, support our immunity, eat well, sleep well, exercise. What I'm learning in clinical practice at this time is that managing our response to this challenge is a lot about really getting back to basics and looking after our bodies first and foremost. So that's what I'm seeing across clinic this week. I have been busy making vegan honey, which is another name for dandelion syrup, that some of my vegan friends very much miss their honey, and I've learned that you can use this as an alternative, so I've been doing that and pressing out lots of tinctures from the herb garden, which has been a lot of fun, and I hope to share some of those things with you over the next little while. Wherever you are, take care, chin up, we'll get through this. Bye now.